tin can with a waiting list, a whiskey collection that sold for $1.5 million, and a necklace valued at $200 million, the most expensive ever made. None of them came from Paris. None of them came from Geneva. Every single one was created by an Asian family, and unless you move in very particular circles, you have never heard their names, because the ultra-rich stopped buying logos a long time ago. They buy things the rest of the world doesn't even know exist. This is Asian Dynasty. Today, 15 Asian-owned luxury brands hiding in plain sight. From a Kyoto workshop founded before the British Empire existed to the man collectors call the greatest jeweler alive. And, fair warning, the higher we climb this list, the more impossible the numbers become. Here's the rule that connects all 15. Real luxury whispers. No billboards, no celebrity campaigns, just family dynasties, generations of obsession, and waiting lists you cannot buy your way past. By the end, you'll see the pattern, and you'll understand why the wealthiest people on Earth pay millions for silence. Number 15 is a tin can. Seriously, Kaikado, founded in Kyoto in 1875, makes tea caddies by hand through more than 130 separate steps. The lid is fitted so precisely it slides shut under its own weight, sealing the tea inside. Today, the 6th generation of the same family, led by Takahiro Yagi, makes them the exact same way. A simple caddy costs about $100. So why do collectors and tea masters wait months for one? Because a Kaikado outlives its owner. The company still repairs caddies it made a century ago, and the metal only grows more beautiful with every year of handling. That's the first secret of this list. The ultra-rich don't pay for shine, they pay for things that last forever. Number 14, Kwanpen, Singapore, 1938. A leather worker named Kwanpen starts out repairing handbags for the wives of British officers. Then he realizes something. He can make better bags himself. 3 generations later, his grandson Jonathan Kwan helps run one of the most respected crocodile leather houses on Earth. Every Kwanpen bag takes a minimum of 30 hours of handwork, and the house produces only about 5,000 bags a year against the millions pumped out by the big European labels. Wealthy women in Singapore and Hong Kong carry Kwanpen for a reason that sounds almost rebellious. No logo games, no weightless theater, just crocodile leather that rivals bags costing several times more. The insider's alternative, from a family workshop that was mastering this craft before most luxury houses ever arrived in Asia. Number 13, writes in gold. Namiki is the luxury arm of Japan's Pilot Pen Company, named for its founder, Ryosuke Namiki. Its flagship Emperor pens are decorated in maki-e, an ancient art where craftsmen build up layer after layer of urushi lacquer and sprinkle real gold dust into the design. A single pen can take months. The price runs deep into 5 figures. Some collectors pay more for one pen than most people pay for a car. And here's the detail insiders love. Back in 1930, London's Alfred Dunhill was so stunned by the craft that he partnered with Namiki to sell these pens to European aristocracy. The aristocrats needed Japan, not the other way around. Number 12 was founded in 1555. Let that sink in. Chiso has been making kimono in Kyoto for more than 470 years, a company already 2 centuries old when the United States was born. Chiso specializes in yuzen, hand-painted silk dyeing so refined that a single commission passes through the hands of dozens of master artisans. A made-to-order Chiso kimono starts around $1,500, and the finest commissions climb into the tens of thousands. For Japan's wealthiest families, a Chiso kimono isn't clothing, it's an heirloom, ordered for a wedding or a coming of age, then kept and passed down for generations. Number 11, a Hosoo. Founded in Kyoto's Nishijin weaving district in 1688 and still run by the same family 12 generations later. Today's president, Masataka Hosoo, took fabrics once woven for emperors and turned them into something else entirely. Textiles for the world's biggest luxury houses, Dior, Chanel, Louis Vuitton. When you walk into their boutiques, some of those shimmering walls were woven on Hosoo looms in Kyoto, a 300-year-old family mill quietly sitting inside the supply chain of European luxury, and most customers will never know. That's the 11th secret. Sometimes the Asian brand isn't behind the product, it is the product. Number 10 is where the powerful sleep, Capella. A hotel brand so discreet that world leaders chose it for one of the most secretive meetings of the century. In 2018, the Trump-Kim summit was held at Capella, Singapore on Sentosa Island. And the owners? The Kwee family of Singapore, whose private company Pontiac Land has built a family fortune estimated at $7.3 billion. The 4 Kwee brothers own some of Singapore's most famous luxury hotels, including the Ritz-Carlton Millenia. And in 2017, they bought the entire Capella brand outright, moving its headquarters from Atlanta to Singapore. The world's elite now sleep inside an Asian family's empire. Most of them have no idea. Number 9. Sabyasachi. If an ultra-wealthy Indian bride walks down the aisle, odds are she is wearing this name. Sabyasachi Mukherjee started his label in Kolkata in 1999. His hand-embroidered bridal lehengas start around $6,000 and climb past $12,000. And for India's billionaire weddings, far beyond that. The wider world barely noticed until 2021, when one of India's biggest conglomerates, Aditya Birla, paid roughly $55 million for a 51% stake in his company. The designer from Kolkata had quietly built a luxury empire without ever putting his clothes on a discount rack. We're now halfway up the list, and this is where everything changes. Everything below this line, you could walk in and buy. From here up, money alone is not enough. You need access. Quick question while we climb. How many of these brands had you actually heard of? Drop your count in the comments. Be honest. Number 8. Naoya Hida and Company, Tokyo. Hida spent decades inside the watch industry before founding his own house, and he runs it with a rule that drives collectors crazy. You cannot simply buy his watches. The company accepts purchase applications just once a year. Production runs to mere dozens of pieces with hand-engraved dials, priced from around $22,000 to nearly $40,000. The entire annual output could fit inside a single briefcase, and that scarcity is exactly the point. When supply is this small, the customer doesn't choose the brand chooses the customer. Number 7. Hajime Asaoka, a man Swiss watchmakers speak about with genuine respect, which almost never happens. Asaoka is self-taught. He builds fewer than 10 watches a year in his Tokyo studio, priced from $25,000 to $145,000, with waiting lists that run for years. And when he launched a more affordable sub-brand, Kurono Tokyo, releases sold out by online lottery, oversubscribed by up to 50 times. Think about that. The overflow demand from one man's workbench created a second brand that sells out in days. Number 6 is hiding inside a company you know, Seiko. Yes, that's Seiko. In the Japanese Alps, it runs a small atelier called the Micro Artist Studio, where a handful of craftsmen build Credor, the brand Japan's elite keep to themselves. Their masterpiece, the Aichi 2, has a porcelain dial painted entirely by hand, 1 full day per dial. The movement finishing is so fine that the studio consulted Philippe Dufour, the most revered living watchmaker, to perfect it. Around 20 watches a year, roughly $50,000 to $60,000 each, a waiting list over a year long. The same company that sells $100 watches by the million also builds some of the finest watches on the planet, and it barely tells anyone. Number 5. You drink. In 2000, a small Japanese distillery called Hanyu went under, and its whiskey casks were headed for destruction. The founder's grandson, Ichiro Akuto, refused to let that happen. He rescued 400 casks, founded his own company, Venture Whisky, and bottled the rescued spirit as the now legendary card series. 54 bottles, each labeled like a playing card, released between 2005 and 2014. In 2020, a complete set sold at Bonham's Hong Kong for $1.52 million. The most expensive Japanese whiskey collection ever auctioned. Single bottles from the series have sold for the price of a house. He saved his grandfather's whiskey from the scrap heap and turned it into liquid gold. Number 4. Bhagat of Mumbai. No flagship on Fifth Avenue. No advertising campaigns. Just a fourth-generation family firm where Viren Bhagat, working alongside his sons, produces no more than about 60 pieces a year. Every single one unique, fusing Mughal motifs with the clean geometry of Art Deco. The world's most serious collectors fly to Mumbai for the chance to buy. And when the famous Al Thani Royal Collection went under the hammer at Christie's, a single 5-strand Bhagat necklace sold for $1,695,000. The quietest name in high jewelry, and one of the hardest invitations on earth. Number 3, Anna Hu was supposed to be a concert cellist. Born in Taiwan, she trained for a life on stage, until an injury in her teens ended that dream. So she poured the music into jewels instead. In 2019, her Dunhuang Pipa necklace, built around a 100-carat fancy intense yellow diamond, sold at Sotheby's for $5.78 million. A world auction record for a contemporary Chinese jewelry artist. Her pieces carry names like musical compositions, and her collectors treat each one like a score that will never be played again. The injury closed one stage. It opened a far more exclusive one. Number 2, Cindy Chao of Taiwan. Raised in a family of architects and sculptors, she builds jewels the way her family built buildings, in 3 dimensions, layer by layer. Her royal butterfly brooch holds 2,328 gemstones, 77 carats in total, and in 2013 it entered the Smithsonian's National Gem Collection. the first Taiwanese design piece ever to do so. It now lives in the same halls as the Hope Diamond. Another of her creations, the Phoenix Feather Brooch, sold at Christie's Hong Kong for $1.12 million. Most luxury brands dream of a boutique on every corner. Cindy Chao's work ends up behind museum glass. And number 1, Wallace Chan of Hong Kong, the man many call the greatest jeweler alive. He started as a teenage apprentice, carving gemstones in a small workshop. In 1987, he invented something nobody had ever done, the Wallace Cut, a way of carving a three-dimensional illusion inside a transparent gemstone so that a face seems to float within the stone itself. In 2012, he became the first Asian jeweler ever invited to exhibit at the Biennale des Antiquaires in Paris, the holiest hall of European high jewelry. He walked in alongside Cartier and Boucheron. Then came the masterpiece, a heritage in bloom, a necklace set with 11,551 diamonds, 383 carats carved around stones cut from the Cullinan heritage, a rough diamond that cost $35.3 million. The finished necklace was valued at $200 million, the most expensive necklace ever created, and it can be worn 27 different ways. Built not in Paris, not in Geneva, in Hong Kong, by a man who began with nothing but a carving knife and patience. So look at the pattern, 15 brands and almost none of them shout. A tin caddy with a century of free repairs. A watch you must apply for. A whiskey that had to be rescued to exist. These families are not selling products. They are selling time. Decades of it, generations of it, 470 years of it in Chiso's case. And time is the one thing billionaires cannot buy faster than anyone else. They can skip every queue on earth except this one. That is why, when wealth gets serious enough, it stops chasing logos that anyone can recognize and starts collecting mastery that almost nobody can. Because here is what this list really teaches. The loudest luxury is for people who need you to know. The quietest luxury is for people who already know. The ultra-rich don't whisper because they are humble. They whisper because at that level, the only audience that matters is the craftsman, the family, and the few hundred people on Earth who understand exactly what they are holding. So, which of these 15 had you never heard of? Drop it in the comments. And if quiet empires like these fascinate you, the video on your screen right now goes even deeper. This is Asian Dynasty, where wealth doesn't talk, it builds.